First, I just want to thank everybody for coming today to our Lunch and Learn. What we're going through today is Sage Intacct Financial Reports and Basic Customizations. I'm Sarah. I'm one of the Business Development Managers here at Thrive, and Pam, who is one of our amazing Intacct consultants, will be running us through that today. So this is just a very informative session. We're going to be going through duplicating records, modifying records, adding actuals, adding budgets, adding actual budget differences on budget actual lines, expanding columns and dimensions, expanding columns by time periods, and report permissions. So that's what we're going to be going through today. I'm going to hand over to Pam. We'll just leave all questions to the end if that's possible, so Pam can get through our agenda, and I hope you enjoy.
Thank you. Sarah, if you could just start recording the session.
Yes, I've started.
Excellent. Okay, thanks everybody for joining us. As I've got the agenda on the screen, Sarah's already mentioned most of those. I've just popped a thing on the end. Time permitting, we'll also look at expanding some rows by dimensions rather than just columns. So let's get stuck in and have a look at Intacct. Okay, so I'm using some demo data today to do this presentation. Let's jump into the reports and into our financial reports, which is what we're taking a look at. I'm going to filter the report list, so you can get a great list of reports, but we're just going to play around with some that I've got today. So we'll start with this profit and loss detail. So if we go in and edit this report, I'll just show you what it looks like with the current version of the report. So you can come up to the preview and preview the live report, and you can see it's giving me my profit and loss in detail by GL account, and I've just got it for the month ending 31st of December. So I can close my preview. Now I'm going to use this report as a basis for some of the other reports I'm going to create. So the first thing I want to do is this really cool. You don't have to create all your different report variations from scratch. You can simply open up a report that's similar to the one you want to create and click on the duplicate button. So I am going to call this one, I've got the name just typed somewhere else for ease. So I'm going to call this one profit and loss detail, current month, actual versus budget. Okay, so now I have another version there, and I can go and edit that version that I've created. So I'm playing around with the columns. There's lots of other choices, but today we'll mostly be looking at the columns and permissions, and then if we have time left, we'll have a quick look at some rows. So I go to the columns page, and at the moment, you can see I've got a column for the account number and name and a column for the actuals for the current month. So I want to create a report that has actual versus budget. So it's as easy as coming up to the column, and you can see I have the choice to add columns to the left or the right of this existing one, as well as move this column and remove it. So I'm going to add a column to the left, and the column I want to add is a budget column. If I've got multiple budgets in the system, I can then choose which budget I want, but I'm happy with this master budget. And you can also see that it brings through the column title. So I don't want to say that whole lot, I just want to say budget. And the actual column, it doesn't actually have a column title at the moment. So I'm just going to give it the title actual. Okay, now you can see the time periods, the reporting periods for both columns. They're both current month, and it gives you a preview based on the date that you have set at the top of the screen of what that period is that you've selected. Now, at any point in time when you're building a report and you're making some changes, you can go and preview it. You don't even have to save it. You can just preview where you're at the time. So I'm just going to go and preview that live report. And you can see now that I have for the month ending 31st of December, I have a budget column and an actual column. So now I want to add in a column to show my variance. So again, I'm just going to add a column this time to the right, column 3. And so now I can select a different column type. So lots of different column types. We won't try and go through all of them today. But this time I'm going to add the actual minus budget difference. And again, it's using that same budget. And I don't want that great long description. I'm just going to call it variance. Okay, same time period. So if we go and preview this report now, I now have my budget, actual, and variance. And you can see the variance is actual less budget. If you prefer to see budget less actual, you can make that choice. So when we go back to this choice of what the column type is, you can see there is actual minus budget or budget minus actual. Just depends how you prefer to compare them. Okay, so I've basically taken that report that I had to start with and I've added a couple of columns really, really easily. And so now I can save that report. Now I'm just going to show you, creating another copy where I'm going to create a year-to-date version. Now you could just add them as extra columns, but I just want to demonstrate how easy it is to just duplicate a report and just tweak little things about it to create a different version. So this time, instead of current month, I'm doing year-to-date. And now I have my year-to-date version. So now it's as easy as coming in to edit this report, the columns, and change my current month to current year-to-date. And I need to do that for each of my columns. Okay, and you can see that it's telling me, based on my date at the top, what that period is based on what I've selected as that reporting period. So now, preview the live report. And now you can see I have all my year-to-date figures as at the 31st of the 12th. Okay, so now I'm done with this one, so I'm going to hit save and done. And I'm going to show you how we can take that basic report we started with and actually split out the columns by dimensions. So we're going to create one that's by department. So again, I'm going to go in and edit that original report, duplicate it, and this time I'm going to call it profit and loss detail by department. Okay, so we're back to our columns and just that single column at the moment. So instead of just having a single column, which as we saw, it's just the one column with the month ending 31st of December. I'm now going to split that column by department, so by a dimension, and I'm choosing to split it by department. So down here we have the choice to expand by. And if I choose, I can pick any of these dimensions. So I'm going to go with department. And then there's some choices, but I'm just going to stick to the one level down with roll up. So set that. And now you'll see that when we preview the report, I am automatically getting columns for every single department with a total at the end. So with such ease, you can split your financials into those dimensions. Okay, so it's as easy as that to take that first report and just modify it. Okay, so something that people commonly want is they want to be able to see their profit and loss movements by month rather than just be able to see the current month and have to run it again for the prior month and compare them. So they just want to be able to see all months in the current year. So again, I'm going to go back to this profit and loss data, duplicate it, and this time I'm creating profit and loss by month. Okay, so we'll go and edit that one. And again, we're going to the columns because we're mucking around with the columns. Now, the first thing is I don't want just the current month. I want to be able to see the current year to date. Okay, but then I don't want to see it in 1 month sum figure. I want to expand by time periods. And I want to expand by months. So now if I go and look at this one, you can see I get results for every month. Obviously, my sample data is on a calendar year, but you can see the results by month. Now, if you then wanted to add a total column to the end, you could then add another column. Sorry, add a column to the right. And you could say the same time period, current year to date, but do not expand. I'd take that title out, so it's just got that actual title. If I take it out, it'll just appear as the rest of the columns. So I've got monthly columns with a total for the whole year. So that title was just coming from down here. Take that out to make it consistent. Okay, so many things you can do in this system. It's really, really powerful. So I'll just save that one. Now, if I wanted to create one that was by quarters, it's as easy as just going and changing that expand by month. I just want to go and change that to quarters. And you can see now I have my March, June, September, and December quarters. And then my year to date. Okay, so you're designing all these lovely reports, but you want to make sure that users are locked down to only reports they're allowed to see. So you could have a user who's needing to access job-based reports or project-based reports, but you don't want them having access to your financials, profit and loss balance sheet. So you can start playing with report permissions. So at the moment, by default, this when I create a new report, it is accessible by the group everyone. But if I want to lock this report down and make it accessible by only particular users, I can remove the everyone group. Okay. That's not behaving itself. Let me just get out of it. This one. Okay, remove. Right, I'm going to add Emma to the access. So user, Emma. Remove that one. There we go. Okay, so now what I've done here is I've excluded this report from everyone, but allowed only Emma access to have the report. Now, obviously, you're probably not going to want to do that user by user. That would be a lot of work, especially if you had a lot of staff. So what you can do is add user groups. And then you'd have something named a bit better than this one, but this will give you an idea. Set users group, and I can add that one. So you can create user groups. You could have finance, you could have accounts payable, project managers, whatever you decided to name your group, and then put the applicable users into that group. And users can be in, multiple groups. They don't have to be restricted to just one. And so that way you can really define the permissions. So I can say, right, only Emma and this group of users can access this report. So when anyone else that's not in that group goes to their reports menu, they won't even see this report. Okay, so we do have time. Kind of rip through that. Is there any questions from anybody before I move on to the little bit extra that I was going to show? Complete silence. I put you all to sleep. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is show you a report where instead of breaking the columns down by dimension, I'm actually going to break the rows down by dimension instead of account numbers, GL account numbers. So again, I'm just going to start with this one and duplicate it. And I'm just going to give it a really basic name for this one. I'm just going to call it revenue report. Okay. That was lovely. Okay, so my revenue report, I actually want to play with the rows, not the columns. So this time, at the moment, I've got the net income group, which it includes everything in the P&L. So I'm going to go and select just the revenue group, so this group here. So I can come in and choose my revenue group and get rid of my net income group. Okay, so it's just my revenue group now. So you can see all the other stuff goes away, just my revenue accounts are showing. Now, I want to have, let's just take a look at this. They're saying revenue, and for the most part, we've got revenue in subscriptions and services. But I really want to see with my services, I'd like to see that by project. And my subscriptions, I'd like to see that by customer, because then I can start looking at trends. So I'm going to go back. And in here, I'm going to set my detail level to summary. Now, if I do it at the top here, you will see that all of these details on every row are going to change to summary. So what that does is when I preview the live report, I've now just got a single row for each group. If I wanted to, I can open it up and expand it out to see the GL accounts. But I'm now going to expand these out by those other dimensions. So my subscriptions, I want to expand by dimension, and I want to see it by customer. Whereas my services, I actually want to see those by project. So now when I go and preview the report, you can see that my revenue subscriptions is broken down by customer, and then there's my services broken down by project. Now, if I then went and said, let's have a look at the columns, and instead of the current month, let's look at current year to date and expand by time periods, show me months. Now look at what we can do. Now I can see my subscriptions by customer. So I can see the trend of like customers where they're coming on, dropping off. And I can also see my revenue by project. And so you can see, really, really easy. You don't have to design. It's really not a difficult report design. You can do it with only a few clicks. Just need to know how. So that's as much as I had to show you today. Just wanted to keep it to things that are pretty quick and easy to do. Any questions?
Very nice, Pam.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and hopefully you've learned a little bit about Sage Intacct Financials.
Thanks, Pam.
Thanks, Pam.
Thanks, Pam.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Bye.